And it was more than 10 fingers and toes.
Man, I'm glad we waited to tell the joke this time.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that was better. That was better.
You can't tell it at 8:58 because then people miss. We've been hearing people miss part of it. So.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. We nailed it this time. Got it.
John Wattis has already blamed MetroNet for the delay, and I think that's fair and appropriate.
I think MetroNet is taking arrows.
Every time I hear it, like I said, it sounds like what a sitcom would be like.
It does. It totally
does.
They
have to name an internet provider. It's MetroNet.
Yeah. Yep. The grad of State U founded MetroNet.
Right. So it turns out that moving to Sunday night does not make us any more prompt. In fact, might have made us actually a little later than
a little less, yeah.
But it depends how you want to look at things. Compared to Monday at 9, we're very early. So in your face.
Crushed it.
It is the Handsome Hour. I didn't introduce this last time. I think people know who we are, but Boiler Dad, class of 77. Anish Ramaswamy dropped out in 91. And I'm Jay. I graduated magna cum laude. No, I did not. And Boiler Dad holding up Poppins pub paraphernalia.
Yep.
I mean, are you showing off?
I kind of am. I can't add a new drink coaster.
So, I got those too.
Yeah, pretty special.
I got those too. So you have the usual three of us. We're not sure whether it's always a fun weekend when Anish's computer gets broken. No, when Nebraska loses, IU loses painfully, Purdue wins, and Jimbo Fisher gets fired. I mean, and there's basketball on the horizon. Like, oh man, and the past and on the horizon. Man, I don't even know where to be. We were so excited we couldn't wait till tomorrow. We wanted to see all you guys now.
Yeah, this is a fun juncture. Obviously a win on the gridiron makes everybody feel a little bit better, but we're looking at the on ramp of the the meat of the pre-con is right here. How do you guys feel about? I haven't watched Xavier play, but I do know that my feelings for Sean Miller stay strong when I see him on the screen.
Sean Miller is
right away.
I think it was Sean Miller that you said one of your snap judgment comments that always makes me laugh, because you'll just say, that's the kind of guy that, and then it'll be something predictably funny, but completely unfair because
he probably didn't deserve it. Yeah.
But I think it was something like standing on the lawn of a frat house at Purdue yelling racial slurs.
Yes.
Something like that. You said, that's what he looks like.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's strangely accurate.
Right.
He just looks like just a sweaty jerk.
Yeah.
He doesn't ever look. He and his brother never look happy or pleasant.
He'd smell like a hangover, wouldn't he?
I thought you were going to say ham, because he looks like he'd smell.
He would smell like pork. No doubt.
Smell like pork.
Yeah. So Anish, can you sound off at this point, or are you still trying?
Have you joined us? Or are you still?
I'm still fighting here. I'm still fighting for my life over here.
He's fighting the good fight. For those of you who don't know the history, what happened is Anish lost his computer in a tragic accident.
Tragic canine incident.
Canine incident, exactly. And now he's trying to work through the rebuild of a new computer, and in the growing pains of this,
it's only halfway built. This is the problem, is that the computer is still, there's still
like a building, like it's
things being soldered. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
They're feverishly working off camera to get that computer built.
Yep.
Told you I had a show at 9:00.
Yeah. I think you probably would have had it built by 24 hours from now. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been fine if we didn't force you to go early. Well, one thing about let's start with football, because it's a happy week to talk about. Purdue apparently will only win games in blowout fashion. This is one of the rare 3-7 teams that only beats the hell out of teams that they beat, and looks non-competitive on the weeks they do not win. So
something I wanted to do, but I didn't do it because I'm not that guy. Is I wanted to see how many times a Daryl Hazel team won a blowout, and then how many times did they beat a Big Ten team in a blowout. I know that's zero.
They beat so they had one game where they looked dominant in the Big Ten, and it was a win over Nebraska. LOL. They scored 55 points on Nebraska.
I remember that was a bizarre game.
But they almost blew it. They only won
Right.
by 10. If I remember correctly, it was 55-45, but it was like 55-31 or something, like with 8 or 10 minutes to go. Like they were celebrating already, and then they gave up 2 touchdowns, and I think Nebraska got the ball back again, and it was like, so I don't think you count that as a blowout win because you only won by 10.
Yeah.
So I don't think they ever had a blowout win. That was the best they ever looked. But no. So yeah, I mean, if long live the Big Ten West, because I think Ryan Walters would do some damage in the Big Ten West if it continued.
He would. It's a completely inept group of teams. So there's a 5-way tie at 2 right now in the Big Ten West. Is that right?
Right. And Purdue's a game behind those teams, or a game,
right?
Like really close. If Purdue wins their last 2 games, they're going to pass a bunch of those teams, most likely, that are in that tie, because they're not going to keep winning. Somebody's going to have to lose. Iowa's going to find their way to 10 wins, as we talked about, and the Big Ten championship game. And I saw an Iowa fan say, one of the reasonable ones, say, this is the reason you fire Brian when you did. Because if not, then these wins now begin to make them think, well, I guess we can't.
It's the scenario we wanted as non-Iowa fans, right?
Right. Perfect. Just keep eking out these wins. They haven't scored. I think they've only hit that 25-point mark. He was supposed to average like 2 or 3 times this year, maybe 2 times. Yeah. And so like the scenario we all wanted, where they'd have to fire him even if they won 10 or 11 games, would have come true, but they just decided to. I mean, it's crazy too. Like, bring in a semi-competent offensive coordinator. It's not like they haven't had offensive talent there. Purdue gets some of their offensive talent, right? So like, just bring in a competent coordinator, and all of a sudden, like, I don't know why anyone would resist that. Like, you might. Is it because they're afraid of Kirk? I think that might be what it is, right?
It could be. I don't. There are a lot of things that just don't make sense to me in sports, right? I mean, like when you see a quarterback of a decent reputation transferring to Iowa, you're like, okay, that's a hell of a bag he got. But I don't even know if it was that, right? Like it doesn't make sense. And Iowa choosing to run this sort of offense for year after year after year after year just doesn't make any sense at all. And they've got, like you said, they've got talent. They've got linemen there. They bring in wide receivers. They bring in running backs. One of those running backs is one of the guys that I wanted to talk about, because I did this quick thought of some definitive games or parts of the game that I think really said a lot about how different it was. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this, see if anything stuck out to you. I'm cheating because I gave a little bit of forethought to it, but I wanted to tell you mine. The first one, of course, is great play call, very inventive, very simple but effective. The double fake screen pass, left then right by Card, and then throwing the seam route to Garrett Miller for the touchdown. That was such a good play design, right? And I thought that was such a definitive play, because I think that was Purdue's second drive, if I remember correctly. And it set a tone that you're like, okay, we're not playing today, right?
Right.
This is different.
Well, sorry, you're getting to a question.
Keep going.
Well, I was going to say, what? So tell me, why would that happen now? Were they playing conservatively against the better teams they were playing because they thought, look, we can't get creative with this line? And if that is the case, that's not too hard to imagine talking yourself into that as a young coaching staff, thinking, man, I don't want Card to get beat up any more than he has to, so let's be conservative. It costs you wins, but maybe there's on some level you're saying, well, we're not winning those games anyway. So but why does that change to, like you said, an end-to-end well-called game? I mean,
that play, though, if you think about that,
they went away from it.
That play takes time to develop, right?
Right.
And so that's one where you say, we got to have confidence in our line. Hudson has to have confidence in his line, right? And that was what we were talking about in the previous games. He didn't have the confidence to step up in the pocket. He didn't have the confidence to take his time. He looked panicked. He would throw off his back foot. He threw off his back foot once in the first drive, and it frustrated my section so much. It was amazing. Like, people were all just saying, Hudson, stop into the throw. Stop throwing off your back foot, right? And it was almost like he was like, okay, no more. I'm gonna play a different game. But I think it's one of those examples of a coaching staff overthinking things, right? Like, okay, we're depleted. offensive line's not put together. We can't call that play yet. We can't do that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing to me is I know Minnesota statistically isn't the greatest defense, but you could tell they're big and strong. And that front, the funny thing is they're not dynamic. They don't twist. They don't run a lot of delays up front. There were a couple plays where they brought 4 or 5 and Purdue's line just was a wall. That was so much fun to see because Card had a chance to go through progressions like he did early in the season, which Jay, you became a huge fan of him, I think, early because of those progressions. You're like, okay, this is different. This is a different style of play. This guy's, he's going to be good and he can do that. And then he can tuck it. So, but I thought that play set such a tone. You're like, okay, this is a different game. This is a good thing. And like I said, it looked like a different Hudson Card. And the other thing that really got my attention, and I should have given credit for this when I just went through my post game, was the drive that was the Tyrone Tracy drive. Like
3 plays.
That was an incredible drive. What, he had 4 big plays, and it was him.
3. It was 3 plays. It was
he had
pass,
long ball.
rush.
Yes, exactly.
Like
incredible.
And throwing that pass to him down, I think that was one of the ones you called out in your postgame. I can't remember now, but I think it was where somehow he got behind the defense. The Purdue did that to them 2 or 3 times where a safety didn't play safety, right? And you're letting the running back get out there. It was very weird, and it's weird in the sense of like Purdue saying, okay, well, we're not going to send a receiver out there. We're going to send Tyrone Tracy down there, which is cool. But
he just kind of came right out of the backfield. You watch that play again.
Yeah, he just
nothing.
Yeah,
it wasn't a special movement.
But I think there's a lot of misdirection there, even by the running back, by him on that play. You can't look like you're jetting downfield like this is the play. You got to look like
you got to hesitate.
You're just going out there like into the flat almost. Like that's what I'm out here for. And then just no one's paying attention to you. Just keep trotting down the field. Yeah. And if they don't bite on it and the safety stays with you, then you're probably not the option.
Yeah.
Right. And that also requires the quarterback to see, they didn't pick him up. He's going to be all alone out there.
Right.
But
the play that I got that mixed up with, because I went back and I watched those highlights, the one that was Deion Burks.
It looked like a fair catch.
Well, I mean, that was amazing because you have a linebacker completely chuck him, nobody behind him. And then he's just waiting for the ball. There's nobody back there.
There was a picture. That picture made it onto, I think, one of those like no context college football. But it was a freeze frame of him about to catch it. And it said, would you believe if I told you this was not Purdue fielding a punt? Because he's standing there like this, and the Minnesota players are rushing at him from 15 yards away, like they're gunners.
Right.
Oh man, that was the only thing you could criticize was that was a little underthrown. But you know what?
Yes, and Card, if you want to be real,
but you have time.
Guys.
You don't want to overthrow him, so you make sure. Okay, I'm definitely not going to overthrow this guy because he's got 20 yards on the nearest defender. Yeah.
On that specific one though, he almost got sacked, right?
Yeah.
So,
but he stayed in. I think he stepped up in the pocket. He did what we asked for.
It was 2 different things, right? He stepped up in the pocket, but also I don't know if Ben Farrell basically knocked that defender kind of off his line that would have got him directly to.
Was hilariously brutal during that game.
So I rewatched that play, and I don't know. They both the center and him. I think it was Hartwig. Both Hartwig and him blocked the same guy, and then he immediately came off and hit that guy. So either he spotted his mistake and did it, and recovered, or it was the other way for Hartwig.
Yeah. How about there's one more play, and I talked to you guys off the air about this. If I were going to say there that three definitive plays, because I know Tracy, that's not really fair. That was 3 plays in itself, but the one play. The biggest time throw, in my opinion, that Hudson Card threw is the one that the Purdue creative team, they caught a great picture of it where Sheffield's coming down the left side. There was no throw there. He threw that play open. It was a brilliant throw. Sheffield, who I have been rooting for just to have catches like that, because I think he's a dynamic player and he's better than his numbers say this year. But man, that throw was money because the defensive back had his back. He wasn't going to find that ball at all. Sheffield just kind of had to break inside, but he was defended well, and then he was interfered.
I was going to say,
and that pass was on the money.
You gave him credit. You gave Card credit for the great throw, and Sheffield for the concentration, as the picture shows. And I was going to say to you, not that I want to talk about the opponent doing something, but I almost give that defender credit because he has him blanketed, and he did get interference called on that play too.
He did.
But I almost think that's where you say
take your medicine,
I'm not gonna,
right?
You might as well, because
yeah,
it's a perfect throw, and a guy's going to catch it, and maybe you get away with the interference, right? So you got to try, and then he catches it anyway. You're not going to get on him about that. Like, that's
right. And the funny part about that play is that I'm sure that Sheffield was the number one read there, but I think it was Burks on the other side on a crossing route was wide open. Like he had his receiver burned, or he had his defensive back burned.
Card threw that quickly, though. I think he was going to Sheffield the whole time, wasn't he?
I think it was the number one read. But
there's some pretty awesome things. Card like O'Connell had huge cojones, right? He would throw into tight windows all day long. He didn't have any problem with that, right? Especially in traffic, he would put it right in a small spot. But Card, man, there's some beauty in the way the ball spins out of his hands when he throws a deeper ball. Even if the guy's waiting on it, it's just like you're watching. You're like, man, that thing is nice looking. Like, and I am I wrong in saying that, or do you guys agree with that? Or I love the way his ball looks, and he throws a good deep ball.
The other thing that he does throw a really nice deep ball, but the thing that I loved and I was falling in love with early in the season is the weird level of efficiency. And here's another game, right? They score 49 points. He's a tighty 17 of 25 for 251. He doesn't need to throw for 500 yards. Now, It's definitely helped when you're running
350 yards rushing.
Right. That helps for rushing touchdowns. But this guy, think about that game. 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Don't forget that. Like, what a game. What a great game after getting slapped around for a month. Right? Like,
he was Houdini, by the way, on that one play in the second half where I think he was coming to the left side of the field. And if you watch that play again, the defensive end is coming up to swallow him up, and he just kind of spins.
He was Houdini, but it was a very controlled. None of those escapes to me looked like panicky. They looked like, nope, I'll slip this guy. Like, and if they get him, they get him once in a while. But like I texted you guys, he looked like Garrick Schrader for Syracuse looked against Purdue.
That's good.
Just ultra confident. Every fake work.
Understood where everybody was.
Yeah, he sold every play. Like, honestly, there's almost nothing to criticize from that game. And it. Let me ask you. You were feeling a little down in the dumps heading into this last 3-game stretch of the season. So, what does it change for you? Feeling like.
Well, it's interesting because I think I told you guys, I was like, man, I think they're going to win 3 games, and I don't know which of these 3 they can win.
Right.
Like, remember a week ago. That was my big thing because I was like, man, this offense. I did not either. I did not either. In fact, I thought IU was the best chance because IU, get this, has some chance. They lapse. They just do it every single game. They have a lapse or 2, right? So, but if you don't think Purdue's capable of going 3-0 after watching that, you didn't watch what I watched. And that's the thing. Is this as simple? See, I don't think it is, by the way. I'm going to answer. It's a rhetorical question, but is this as simple as saying that, this is just lesser competition? I really don't.
That's what I was asking
that
you
offensive
earlier.
line.
That's what I'm saying. Right. Why did it snap? Why does offensive line look?
I think it's offensive line kind of figuring it out.
Just took a while to figure it out because they're so patchwork.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's that simple.
I hope so.
So did you guys the suplex or body slam by Freehill and I don't know who the second guy was. It's one of the funniest plays of the season, right? The Minnesota lineman, it's a full-size 300-pound man, somehow gets 5.5, 6 feet off the ground as he's getting double teamed, which is amazing. And then Freehill just decides he's gonna. It was awesome, right? And legit penalty. Sure. He earned it, right? That was it. It's not Freehill, is it? What's his name? The lineman?
Was it? Who was it? I don't even know. I don't remember who.
I think it was
Ben, right?
I think it was actually. I think it was. But I love that play so much because I was like, you know what? That Purdue's
Freehill's a kicker.
Football,
what are we saying?
It's not Freehill. It's Anish. What's his name? Okay, great. Awesome. 64, I think is the number.
Come on, guys, help us out. Somebody, you get one of you. Anyway, go on. Let someone will tell us.
Anyway, so that play, but the the Twitter feed said, we're playing bully ball today because of the way they're running the ball. And that was an example of Purdue playing bully ball.
Mhm.
They said, we're going to out physical this team. We're going to hit them in the mouth. We're going to go toe to toe. We're not going to do anything really all that cute up front. We're just going to say, it's Free Hill. It's Free Hill. Dagnabbit. I hate it when I start doubting myself, but I don't think that's right.
No. Freehill's the
kicker who came back from blood clots and then celebrated by kicking it out of bounds over. Wait, no, that wasn't even him. That's the other kicker. This is the thing.
Once it was
special teams is.
They switched kickers. It was once. The third one was him.
Right.
It was like it was something that was contagious.
Yes, it was.
You don't see that.
The special teams, they got to clear that up. They got to
sometimes see that all season, and they did it 3 times in one game with 2 different kickers.
Yeah, it was horrible. 2 in a row, man. And it wasn't like they were going up against a team. They were like, okay, the return.
Yeah, we got to be careful here. Nope. Just kept kicking it out of bounds for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
49-30 though. Like I still can't get my head around like 49 like this offensive just explosion. Like okay, so to your point about, hey, that's the line kind of figuring it out or time together or whatever. Is it possible that that's this team figuring out their raid? Is it?
Like the guy who last week
a good part of that season with Leach was tough, right? His first year's places.
Yeah.
I mean,
it could be.
You have 2 games to. Let's say they look like that. What if they look like that for the next 2 games? You'll start to believe, okay, that might have been what it was, right? If they,
I'll start to believe a lot of things. I will apologize publicly to Graham Harrell. I mean, I really will. Like I've been critical, and I think I've been correctly critical. But I'm also not a rigid man. I'm not someone who's going to, I think he called a hell of a game. Yeah. Like that's the thing. I don't think anybody would have any issue with the way that game was called. That looked like a different team. So
John Younger asks, what's Anish's buyout from Boiled Sports?
It's a fair question.
I'd love it. I'll take anything.
It's a lot higher than we can pay. I can tell you
that. No, and so on the offense, like real quick, like I think a huge part of it that we were calling for, and I think we had touched on this earlier, was like using the offensive line really differently, right? So not just going kind of honest blocking, just in front the guy in front of you. They were doing a lot of pulling and movement, right? Mm-hmm. And so and that opened up a ton of running lanes. This is I think a Golden Black trivia question. When was the last time 2 rushers had 100 yards in the same game?
I think I'm getting some feedback, Anish. I heard them talking about that, but I don't remember what the answer was. Or maybe I saw them pondering that on Twitter, and I never saw the answer. It's got to be a really long time because there was a stretch there where Purdue wasn't getting 100-yard rushes from anyone. Like most of the Braum era, it was throw the ball a lot. So unless something slipped in.
It wasn't Knox and Jones?
So it was Knox and Jones, but when was it?
Don't tell me it was a Hazel.
Oh, it's in the Hazel era. It must be if you're saying that.
Hope era?
No, it couldn't have been.
You didn't have both of them?
No. So it was there. It was during the bright times. It was during the good times.
Okay.
There were good times.
So it was during Braum.
No. Yeah? Oh yeah, that would have been 18?
Was it Nebraska?
2018 was the last time that happened. 2018, I think. I'm trying to pull this up, but I think it was that strange Eastern Michigan game that Purdue played.
Ted Berkey, I think, is all over it. He says it was the Braum era and a loss.
It was the strange, I think, 18-19 loss or something like that.
Yeah, and Braum was in his own head, wouldn't call passing plays that day.
Which is really weird. To lose a game where it's 2, that's another trivia question. How many times do you think you lose when you have 2 rushers rush for 100 yards? Because if you're losing, you're throwing the ball. So very weird.
Right.
Yeah, I got it up now. DJ Knox with 152 yards and 21 rushes. Markel Jones with 12 rushes for 109 yards, and Purdue lost against Eastern Michigan. One of our first indications of Jeff Brom in the rain, 20-19.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's a ridiculous stat. And that game, remember the funny thing about that, the thing that frustrated me so much about that game was that Eastern Michigan could pass, but Purdue couldn't. I was like, what's happening right now? Why are we in our own head?
To that point, 87 yards by Elijah Sindelar, 47 from David Blau. That was the passing total. Meanwhile, Tyler Wiegers,
120 yards passing.
In a Jeff Brom era against a MAC team in the rain, but Eastern Michigan managed to throw 312 yards. That was that's like on the short list for one of the strangest games during the Brom era.
Oh, statistically and everything. Right. The fact that he could even let that happen, the fact that you could have that kind of a rushing performance and lose, the fact that it's Eastern Michigan, like. Oof.
So in that Rutgers game that you guys went to where Purdue lost, was that inclement weather?
No, bright and sunny.
And that was a very, very, very low scoring game.
14-12, I think.
Yeah.
You know. Don't pretend like you don't know. You remember. It was 14-12.
It was 14
and then
to
you
6.
have another game that I think about is beating Illinois with a very low score. There's these weird anomalies, right? They have 19 points in that game.
Which game?
Versus Illinois. Am I wrong about that?
Did they?
Where they were down in the fourth quarter.
Was that the year before? I think.
He never lost to Illinois, did he?
No, they won the game, but they were down in the fourth quarter. It was I want to say 10-8, 10-9, some stupid score in the fourth quarter, and Purdue wins.
Oh, by the way, I'm just going to veer hard to the side here. Carl on that side there says, serious idea, find a fullback and implement a wishbone offense to shock IU. I know Carl's being funny, but what I was thinking during that game with both, I almost said it to you guys, with Maccabee and Tracy both playing so well, why not ever put them both on the field at the same time? Now, I know that's not the air raid. I get it. But maybe Down.
Well, you're definitely not going to see it now. If Downing's, I haven't heard a report yet. I guess
so
in the press.
I think they did for a couple plays this last game, but they weren't really kind of used together
or something. Oh, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be so, man. It would. I guess then you're taking a receiver off the field, right? And if you're an air raid guy, you don't want to have one fewer receiver. However, this receiving core, I think it'd be okay if those two guys are playing like that. I like Teron Tracy out of the backfield too. Have Maccabee rushing and have Tracy as a threat. I don't know. I'm not a coach.
So, Anish, I don't know if you've heard this. Jay, you can tell me because I wish I knew the answer. But Yassine, is he on the shelf?
It seems like he's out for the season, but I don't know if we've heard anything definitive from Walters yet.
Yeah. That's a big loss because he was just steady. And that would have helped a lot. Would have helped the effort a lot. So do you guys have a play that you guys remember from that game that you would say just showed that Purdue was different in that game?
I mean, this goes back to there was a question a couple of weeks ago, which was, would you rather use $1 million on a five-star basketball player or $1 million to bring in a new line? I love the play of the skill players. I love the two running backs with 100 yards. The offensive line was so awesome that game. I mean, it allowed Card kind of time and self-assurance. It gave Tyrone Tracy, who is, we've talked about the fit between a line and a running back style, and Tyrone Tracy just hits these holes without hesitation. And then when Maccabee can get into past the first level, that's when it's really fun. That's when Maccabee is really fun, right? But of that stems from line play, right? And so to me, the particular kind of guard pull and moving to the other side on that long Tracy run, that was I don't know. Watching a Purdue line do that is fun for me because we beat. I talked about this in the group chat, but we beat Minnesota playing Minnesota ball, playing PJ Fleck ball, right?
Yep. Yeah, they completely hit them with what they should have been prepared for. It's wild. Our buddy Handel Jones asked a question of what about Steptoe? Uh, Steptoe, right? He's a DB
Yeah,
right
he
now,
got
right? I
changed
think
to a
he's a DB
DV.
till the end of the
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think Walters likes him there, and whenever Walters likes anybody at DB depth, I think that you follow that instinct.
Right. And Steptoe had the big onside kick recovery, clean recovery at the end of the game, which was fun. He got his clock cleaned on that play too. But he came up, he stood up smiling. The funny thing is, I got to tell you, as Purdue had a nice, comfortable lead at the end of that game, and Minnesota came on to kick an onside kick, and I think there was 2 minutes and 40 something seconds at that point, something like that. And all I could think about was the balance in the universe that would happen if Minnesota were to come back on Purdue in an improbable way, kind of like Purdue did years ago.
You mean that
on Minnesota?
You mean that time in the Metrodome? You talking that long ago?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah,
but that was
that
different.
I know it's a long time ago.
Yeah, but Minnesota.
But that's a Purdue fan thought, right? Like
you're down 19 with 2-3 minutes left. Like even
when the game the game was over when PJ Fleck decided to kick a field goal down 3 scores. I mean,
I don't fault them at all for that one because they got backed up. They were 4th and goal from like the 11. Like I mean, I know you need touchdowns there, but I kind of get the let's get points and hope. Like you don't know what happens again when you're playing 2 arguably bad teams, one against each other. You have to also coach hey, we can give them the ball and they may give it right back to us. They may fumble it. They may throw an interception. Purdue's done that kind of stuff this year, not in this game. And I watched PJ's press conference. I sometimes like to watch opposing press conferences when Purdue wins.
It's fun. It's fun.
And it's just as weird as he always was, right? Like he repeats himself and he's kind of really weird cadence, right? But he did say at one point, he said something like he clearly wanted to say, wow, I've never seen, Purdue has not looked this good all year. He more or less did say that, but he didn't want to sound like a jerk. And he just was like, he goes, I have not seen them play that well on the tape I've seen of them all year. That was the best I've ever seen them play this year. So, and he's not wrong. That was great. I guess he didn't watch the Illinois game, but he's right. They have not played that well probably all season, but
so think about this, guys, and just to keep piling us a case for how different this game was. John Best talks about going for the TD on the fourth and goal and making it. And it was out of the shotgun, which I think every Purdue fan were like, oh crap, here we go. Right. 4th and a yard and a half.
Oh,
for a touchdown. And they have, once again, Card in the shotgun, like he always is, right? If you remember that drive, Maccabee had ripped off a play, right? Gotten right down to inches away from a touchdown. Then Purdue floundered around for three downs. And then on 4th down, another creative call gets the job done. They score. That's a big
and particularly on that play, it was your guy Dixon Veal it was a block that did that. Dixon Veal blocked his,
and he's one of the smallest guys on the field.
He blocked his receiver threw him at released and blocked the linebacker that had a actual line on stopping Card. That touchdown goes to him. That was incredible. And again, it was just all of these things working so well together. It was
how about the play where Purdue couldn't really kick a field goal because they were just out of range, if I remember correctly. It was like 4th and 6, 4th and 5, and they got the first down. That was
what I had complained earlier. In a similar situation, why don't you go for it? And I think it was like 4th and 10. One of you, or maybe it wasn't 4th and 10, 4th and 8.
No, it was like 8. It was like 8. It was a little bit behind midfield, and Purdue was up.
They were on the Minnesota side of the field.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 35.
It was a 35, so it would have been 35. Like a 50. Yeah, it would have been a 50
I didn't want
plus.
To kick. Yeah. I wanted to.
But on that note, I don't mind the punt when you're up when the cushion is that big, right? Like you're not giving up too much of an opportunity.
And to the point I just made earlier, maybe you punt it down there and maybe they fumble it down there and maybe good things happen. And by the way, I will say Handel said in the side it was 4th and 21 on that field goal decision. And I was about to say, no, Handel, you're wrong. And then I just looked real quick and it was a 38-yard field goal, which means it was kicked from the 28, which means 7 yards behind where the ball means it was on the 21, which means Handel was literally to the yard correct. I did not realize it was that far, but that's why he made that decision, everybody. It's 4th and 21.
Yeah.
I mean, and you think you can get points or go for it. Almost impossible.
Right.
Purdue,
Especially they need, and points were at a premium.
although
at that
someone
point
else
for
in
them,
the
so.
who says it, Ted Berkey says you scored a field goal down 3 scores to be down 3 scores. Totally fair, totally not wrong. But it's either get 3 points or turn the ball over at that point, because you're not going to score a touchdown. Not against Purdue's defense was playing well. And in that situation, all you do, it's like end of game. You just put everybody down on like the goal line, right? And you rush 3 and you let them try to throw it in there. So there's no PJ was smart enough to know they're not going to score a touchdown. But yes, Anish, I think it was over then, but it was more over because they couldn't stop. I think one of Purdue's last touchdowns, clearly it was a stand where Minnesota was trying to hold them to a field goal because the game was still sort of in reach, and they just couldn't. They couldn't. And one more thing, I'm jumping all over, but you were just talking about the difference in, the 4th down call for the touchdown. The thing I noticed was they would try the stuff early in the season that frustrated us in short yardage once. They'd try, okay, we're going to go up the middle with Maccabee. Bam, didn't work. Now we're going to do 3 other things. We're going to pitch out wide. We're going to try some trickery with Card. We're going to try different things. And that's the difference, right? Early in the year, they do the same thing 4 times in a row or 3 times in a row. And then come on.
Good point.
Like this felt different because it was like learning. It was saying, oh, that didn't work. All right, let's try something else. I love that.
Ancient Astronaut has a great point about the other side of the ball. We haven't talked too much about defense, but Snoozy Kane was balling out. Yeah, and Kane has found his groove in this position, in this defense, right? Because he's playing a hybrid linebacker safety role. It's perfect for him because when he's on pass coverage, now he's probably guarding the guy that Brothers would have had, right? He's guarding the tight end. He can handle that all day long, and he's never been a speed merchant, but he's always been a guy who can bring a thump. And so he's looked really good. I think he's either led the team in tackles or been in the top 3 for the last few games. So it's really promising. It's fun to see that I don't know about eligibility. I believe Sanusi Kane, this is it.
But who knows anymore?
Anybody? Who knows?
I think he's played it. I think he's played 4 years, but one of them might be able to be written off.
So maybe
one of them was 2020, so he might have 3 more years. Who knows?
He might have 3 more years.
Yep. Be ready. It was, and maybe you guys, Anish, you're a smarter man than me, Jay as well. What did Minnesota do to keep the 2 best defensive ends in America away from their quarterback?
So I don't know. It was interesting.
I cannot figure it out
because, they've got a decent line.
They never got him.
Good. I mean, they can do it. I think they got him for 1 tackle for loss,
that was
1
on
sack,
that crazy
right?
blitz, right? On that 4th
Yeah,
down play.
it was the last play of the
game. Comes cannonballing up the middle, which I loved, and
it
misses.
was so good.
Right.
So excited.
I think more than that, they put a lot of effort into redirecting them, and it's not like they were unsuccessful. They were getting that quarterback on the back.
They were getting close, right?
They were hurrying him into bad throws.
Kaliakmanis, is that the quarterback's name?
Well,
and easy to spell out.
Yeah, and so they had him a little bit, on his heels, but they never really got to him. And I think he's actually kind of a decent recruit that Minnesota got, and he's young. Yeah. This is a first year in, so he'll get better. He's gonna, he's gonna be kind of,
they're probably gonna still get themselves into a bowl, which in a rebuilding year, which you could probably call it that. That's not so bad.
I told you this. I really do think that at least defensively and from a discipline and from an output standpoint, I think Walters looks at the way that Fleck has built Minnesota, and I think he's got a good amount of admiration for it. That team is all, again, we have infinite jokes to crack about PJ Fleck, but the discipline that they play with, the toughness that they usually play with,
their identity is clear.
Oh, and you look at the win. If you want to go with you are what you say your record is, or you are what your record is, not what you say you are. Minnesota's record is impeccable for what it is. I mean, for the PJ Fleck era, I'm pretty sure they're averaging 8.5 wins, and so it's I think that And they are able to go up against the more physical teams in the Big Ten. And with divisions kind of ending, this is probably the way that you're going to have to build Purdue up. It can't be any more basketball on grass, and you've got to just pray that you're outscoring, or you're able to score the other teams, or you outscore, right? So,
go ahead.
No,
I was just saying, can I talk about another football team for just a moment?
Oh, yes, please.
Well, you don't know what I mean. There's so many we could be talking about. A couple weeks ago, Purdue fell.
Time out real quick before you do this.
Yeah.
Think about how different it was a week ago. We didn't want to talk about Purdue football at all.
I know. Now we're 40 minutes.
We got through 15 minutes. We're like, okay, that was good.
I told you we could do this for 4 hours, man.
Right,
like after a good win,
That's
after a
fun.
fun, unexpected win, we
Exactly.
could do this for hours.
Yeah.
But I just have to talk about my friends in Lincoln because I think Greg's here and he always likes it when I do this. A couple weeks ago, they got really into Greg's mentions and mine. And one of the things I think I told you guys, I said to them when they were being I said, let's see how honest they are as football fans. I said, would you rather have the last decade of Nebraska football or Purdue football? And of course, they denied that they would want Purdue, even though the last 10 years is a fun way to ask that question, right? But the last, say, 5 or 6, there's no comparison, right? But they, of course, mocked me for that question. They were 5-3 at the time and clearly just licking their chops at the rest of the season. And then they lost to Michigan State, and then they lost 13-10 to Maryland. And now Wisconsin is 5-5 and has to play at Wisconsin, which who knows, right? But then they got to play Iowa on Thanksgiving weekend. So
sounds fun.
Well, I just think if you go from 5-3 to 5-7 and don't even get a bowl game,
yeah,
ooh, man,
that's a blow to your ego, even if you got a healthy one, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, talking like you guys are, Nebraska of old when you're 5-5 and reeling.
Well, people are already talking about Rule having the first winning season as a first year coach since Pelini, right? Haven't they've been talking?
Oh, now that's going to be tough because
that's going to be real tough.
They can't split.
Real tough, right?
Oh, I guess they could split and then they could win their bowl, so they could do that still by winning. But I don't think they're going to win because here's the thing: they're not going to go. It's always fun to play these things out, right? So they go to Wisconsin next. Do we think Wisconsin's going to lose back-to-back games in Madison to subpar opponents? I don't think so.
Man, something's broken. I know they got injuries.
I know, man,
they are broken.
Here it is, though. If Pickle doesn't have them ready to play next week against Nebraska after losing at home to Northwestern, then then something really is wrong.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to come out ready to play, and then they got to go play Iowa, who's going to be looking to shut somebody else out, and it won't be hard to shut out Nebraska's offense.
Yeah.
So, man, I can't wait. Wait. I'm so excited. I just had to get that out of my system.
Hey, there's a good question over here by Casey Joanna, and it's back to Purdue, and there's a lot of stuff in this question, actually. For those who were at the game, what was with the Chucky doll coming out of the tunnel? Also, who was the dude in the white cassock on the sidelines giving the team at a priest? Okay, so I don't know the answer to either question, but I can tell you, I think it was Rogers who ran on the field out of the tunnel with a Chucky doll. He was holding it by the hair. I still have no idea. I haven't heard that answered. I don't. If you
listen. I have no further questions. I would like to pry not at all into this. I do not want to tempt the wrath of whatever that is. Right. I'm good. I respect everybody's beliefs here, and anything that you got to do, what you got to do to get that output that we saw on Saturday.
You're getting some major league vibes, right? Like this.
Listen.
Toronto.
Don't ask any questions that you don't want the answers to. I am good. It's whatever voodoo was happening. It was working, so it worked.
It was so weird. Like I watched that because our section, our seats are not at the best angle to see people coming out of the tunnel. So I look up at the scoreboard and I see the Chucky doll being held by the hair, and I'm like, it's not Halloween, guys. We're past that. What is going on with the Fright Night stuff? This is crazy. So I don't know the answer to either of those questions, so I apologize. But I think they're good questions, and maybe there isn't a good answer that hopefully we'll hear something at the presser. Maybe we will. So
Purdue's last two. First of all, the other strange. I mean, the last two opponents that Purdue has on the schedule, Northwestern and Indiana, both absolutely just having bizarre seasons. Like absolutely bizarre seasons. Northwestern looks good. Like they don't. It doesn't look like they're eking out these wins. I mean,
No.
they won in Madison.
Yeah. Purdue can't do that.
Yeah, it's wild. And so to me, first of all, that interim coach, I don't like he's putting up the Northwestern against the world. That's very strange.
Smart.
The fact the fact that he probably was a part of the problem that the last coach got fired
Exactly.
from.
No
Like
one's talking about that.
that is a very weird thing. But this is football, and hey, given the let's say deaths of major or the death of a major college sports, what some people might say, let's just call him a figure, college sports figure. If has taught us anything, it's that the only thing that matters is if you won the right games or not. So this guy is winning games, and he's got Northwestern looking pretty good. That is a problem for Purdue going into next week. Meanwhile, Indiana is like. What I don't at first I was a little bit scared of that game because they were looking like they were picking up momentum. But like, what a bizarre game against Illinois that they played.
They got up to a huge lead. It was like 27-12, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And then they lose. Like I don't.
The whole game is wild because they were up big, came back, they were down, then they came back to force overtime.
Right.
Am I right about that
Yeah.
order of operations? Right. That was crazy.
I love
'Cause
these.
I don't think they scored after like 27. I think they had to run to catch up with Illinois.
Oh, I think they were down maybe 33-27 or something. Yeah. I mean, and these are the people like these IU fans who you see. This always pops up. It's like, imagine if IU was in the West. Well, you gave up 46 or whatever the hell it was to Illinois.
Boy.
Like, don't talk about that. And they have a terrible record against the West.
Be just as shitty in the West.
It's
You'd just
so
be
funny.
You and the worst teams.
You just have to play it. You're right. You'd still be finishing near the bottom. You just would, be behind different programs. I think so. If you believe in trends, Northwestern, I looked today. Do you know they're 5-5. They have alternated, starting with losses. They have alternated every loss, win all season. Wow. They have not won 2 in a row.
Well, there's a number on our side.
Well, sports stats department. They're not going to win 2 in a row. And I trust this Purdue. If and I don't think there's any reason to think this Purdue offense like found it for one game and won't have it the next. Not that we haven't seen Purdue teams do that before, but they're not exactly going into the most intimidating environment, and they're not coached by Jimbo Fisher, so they can win on the road.
And there will be a lot of Purdue fans at that game.
Well, and so this is why last week I was saying that I wanted to hold my panic about the offense until I was concerned. I was clearly concerned, and I think all of us had voiced our concerns. I was holding off on panic until after Minnesota. Again, not because Minnesota is great, but because they are a mediocre team, and you should be able to move the ball against them.
Right.
I mean, and everything that we'd been saying, it's really not who you play. What's the Tillerism? It's not who you play; it's when you play them, right? When we played them, Nebraska was looking really good and really strong. Iowa, Ohio State, and Iowa, Ohio State, and Michigan are all 3 of the best 15 defenses in the country. Sure. I mean, and so meanwhile that kind of overlapped with Purdue having the worst stretch of injuries that they had and trying to recalibrate with the offensive line and things like that. Now, I'm hoping that it continues. If it continues, you've seen proof of, if this offense looks like it did. Looks like it does next week as it did the previous week, then that is proof of concept, right? You're seeing this the same way creativity, you're seeing a line work around its weaknesses, that all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have faith in this, I'm confident. I've gone from not panicking anymore to confident that you just needed to put the pieces together. You needed to know your
I like when we talk and you can hear us reverb and feedback through niches. It's kind of like when somebody calls a talk radio and they don't turn the radio down,
Right,
and then
right.
they take the call and they're like, "Turn your radio down."
Yeah, real condescending to him. Shut up.
What's strange is that I checked it and I don't think it's on the YouTube feed, though. People, please
that would make
let us
sense.
know. So it is just like, none of
When
this
we
makes
talk,
any
when
sense
Anisha's
at all.
mic is
Continue.
open, we hear ourselves coming back. So if you're not
Right.
hearing that, then that's just our treat. There was something over on the side that I had wanted. Oh, yeah. Frailhammer's, how dare you? He said Northwestern's going to take us to the car wash. And I laughed. I'm ashamed of myself.
I forgot about that term until just now because I read it and I couldn't get there. My old brain didn't get it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
Jay, let's be real honest. You would not mind going through getting squeaky.
It depends. It depends what era linemen are making me go through the car wash.
Is that going through the car wash? Who is it? Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about 1990, 2000, 98 to 2000 linemen, that's a pretty wonderful group of linemen.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those guys. I feel very close to them.
Right.
I would
okay, so if you were going to say confidence level for both of you guys on a 10 being the most confident.
I feel great. So
you got a 10?
Wonderful. I'm going to go.
Man, I'm
I feel really
I would hope that Purdue can look as good as they did against Minnesota at Northwestern. There's nothing yet. There is not the talent disparity. There's not, that team isn't particularly well put together. I'd say even in a transition year, like in a Minnesota transition year, the Minnesota roster looks better than the Northwestern roster does. It doesn't. You should, but then again, when has anything made sense? I guess. So just by that, it's like down to a 7. But like you Purdue should be able to go to Northwestern. And when that being said, they're having a weird year.
I completely forgot that Northwestern beat Minnesota. They put 37 up on Minnesota. So Minnesota's having a weird year, but so is everybody in the West. Everyone's 5-5 except for Iowa and Purdue. Yeah. So let me see here. Northwestern. They only put up 9 on Nebraska. They beat Maryland somehow, scoring 33. They alternate. Then they only scored 7 the next week against Iowa. Like I said, every other week they put up a reasonable amount of points, and then the off weeks they put up single digits or something really weak, 12, 13. So I don't know, except to say that they seem due for. They don't, and I usually believe in that do stuff. However, it's happened all year, and it's a team that probably doesn't have the horses to put together 2 games in a row. And I think Purdue's offense is going to score enough points. This is where I begin to feel like Purdue's offense can score enough points, and the defense is playing inspired. So
the defensive side of things here is that I hope to see kind of sacks again, right? Like I hope that the ends actually break through again, right? I mean, like I think that is where the biggest difference that I see from this week and last week, or last week and next week. Even if the offense doesn't perform nearly, as well. Maybe it's 80% of what we saw there. I expect Scourton and Jenkins to have a more productive.
By the way,
a game.
Scorton, we've been yelled at a number of times in the
comments. Many people are angry at us.
I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to it.
Boiler Dad says Scourton, and so I think we all kind of just went with that because I think we know that the man here who pronounces things the best is Boiler Dad. He's
clearly
got to go.
By the way, guys, you should be happy that I'm not calling him Nick Caraway still. Okay, I'm a moron.
You're not a moron. That was his name.
No, I know this is hard. This is hard.
I know. So
the last time I can remember something like this is when Kawan Short changed to K1. Remember that? He changed his pronunciation for his senior year, and I was like, "Whoa!
You can't do that to me.
You can't do that now." But that's kind of what they do. They turn out to try to see how high.
Handle Jones always brings his fastball, and he just made me aware. I did not know this, guys. Do you see what he said over there? Purdue is a 1.5 point underdog at Northwestern.
Awesome. Love it.
I love it too, but man, see, we're so far past what 10, 15 years ago we would have been like so offended. Now we're like, yeah, that's fantastic. It's just I think it's the years of Purdue basketball being good where you're like, no, don't want expectations. No. We'll go with Purdue's terrible, and they're an underdog to Northwestern.
So, hey guys, just some
funny.
really good news, which I think this matters because the way let's be honest, Hudson Card was handling the ball well as he was making good decisions. Honestly, he was doing a really good job reading the ball. There was no sloppiness, right? Some really good things. I didn't have the stats up after the game, but Purdue only had 6 penalties for a total of like 69 yards or something of penalties. Minnesota had 2 penalties for, I think it's 60 and 19 yards. So a total of 79 yards in penalties for the 2 teams. Purdue had 60 yards in penalties. Minnesota had 19 yards in penalties. 2 penalties.
But a clean game. I'm not complaining.
No,
better than
awesome.
those games where there's flags all day. But go on.
Yeah. No. So, but the whole thing is, I want the weather to allow Card to do his job too. And it looks like the forecast right now, it's going to be clear. Looks like to me it'll be around 50, 55 in Evanston during the day, and it doesn't look like it's going to be windy. So that's nice. That's good because Chicago can be gnarly.
They broke that string already. Anish and I were there to see them handle weather.
That's true.
That
was
monsoon
ridiculous.
was just
Now they didn't play much in the actual thing, but the field was certainly wet afterwards.
Well, can you guys mind if I shift gears into other college football for a second?
Oh, please!
I know it's something you guys might not want to talk about. Okay.
Please!
But I want to go through the 5 biggest college football buyouts ever.
This isn't a topic. This isn't a topic that I'm very interested in.
Do we want to talk about?
It's not your thing, Anish. This is not your.
You don't want to talk about the absolute bizarre Michigan coach crying routine. You don't want to talk about that at all. That was the most embarrassing.
He's a jolly good fellow.
Oh, that.
It's and then did they? Okay, is that real or is that like an Onion thing that they actually sang for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow"?
They sing it apparently after every game, but that doesn't even make sense. That makes less sense than Tom Allen's snap thing, because for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow" is what in like the 1940s what you sang like. No, it was a thing you sang like you literally were saying like this. It's not "Happy Birthday." It's like, "Hey, we love Anish. We're gonna sing about him now." Like, who are you singing it about? The coach? Doesn't even make sense, you morons, you dorks.
I don't understand these things.
Uber dorks. But crying, you sent us the message that then you thought what many people did. You said, "Did Harbaugh die?" And that's what everyone was like.
I thought he was maybe he was diagnosed with a terminal disease or something.
Self-inflicted. We cheated, and now we're going to cry because we've overcome. What are you talking about?
Hey, how about Northwestern? I mean, Northwestern against the world, right? It's the same thing, right?
Agree. But I completely agree. But I'm saying, so these guys over here cheated to get better. Frail Hammer says, "He's a rich, fired old fella." Let me ask you this: if Jim Harbaugh was 5-5 right now, would Michigan be all sanctimoniously trying to fire him and not pay him? Fire him for cause. You cheated, bro. You cheated. We're firing you and not paying you your contract.
It's convenient. It is
amazing
always
how they're
convenient.
Standing behind them, isn't it? And remember, you know what? I wanted to call this out to you guys too, and I know about I want to get to the buyouts, but I just need to get this out. If you guys watch I think one thing we agree ESPN still does well is things like 30 for 30s and stuff like that. Those are always good. And if you remember the Fab 5-1, we had very serious-faced Michigan administrators talking about how, we cheated and we had to they took impermissible benefits and we had to take those banners down. They were very proud of their sanctimonious asses for taking down the banners when it was guys like Chris Webber who got an impermissible benefit, which was not cheating and filming the opponent, right? It was he got some money and he got, in an era where that shit happened all the time. We weren't supposed to do it. And if it happened today, it'd be totally fine. But okay. So they wanted to get that on the record that they needed to take those banners down. We didn't deserve those. Now you've got a situation where I don't know what's different about Jim Harbaugh versus those guys, but he is aware, clearly. We're lying to say he's not aware of anything that goes on in that program.
Sure.
You are cheating to get an edge that I don't care. And I know, Anish, you said you don't see this as major a thing as other things, and I agree. It's not. You're not destroying people's lives. But when you're talking about the balance of competition, it is a big deal. And the Astros did the same thing, and they were rightly just bashed for it, because when you know what's coming, it makes it a lot easier to win. And this stuff happened right when they got tired of getting their asses handed to them by Ohio State every year. And then they whipped Ohio State 2 years in a row and just have pounded through everybody else for 2 years. So it makes me angry that they act like, and then the president, I think, or chancellor, whatever he is at Michigan, is out on Twitter still talking about what a great man Jim Harbaugh is. Like, you could just, in Anisha's words, you could just shut the F up. You could just not say anything. That's an option too.
Yeah.
You don't have to condemn him if you don't want to, but you could just not talk at all. You don't have to come out and look like a fool that you're going to look like in a year or two. Sorry.
Right. No.
Sorry. I cede the floor.
That was excellent. It was an excellent rant.
It was a good ISO. It was a good ISO.
Yeah, we needed that. Okay, so let's go through the top 5 biggest payouts real quick. Okay.
Oh, please.
Number 5, Tom Herman was a $15.4 million.
15 for
nothing.
Texas.
Chump change.
This is
the thing. It's amazing. I'm going to put one in here just for
Tom
reference.
Allen's.
Okay. That's what I'm going to do here. That's you
sorry to ruin it.
That was great. Willie Taggart, $18 million buyout at 4.
Florida State.
Charlie Weiss,
was
$19 million buyout from Kansas, I believe, not Notre Dame, I think.
Wait. Taggart was Florida State, right?
Taggart was Florida State. That's correct.
Okay.
For reference, now we can slide in Tom Allen. Last year, they say was a $20 million buyout.
Still is.
A year ago. Still is.
Still is. Till like March.
Oh, you're screwed.
Yeah. It hasn't gone down yet. That's the greatest agent ever.
It's an amazing. No, the greatest agent. We're going to talk about him in a second. 2, Gus Malzahn, $21.5 million buyout.
Auburn?
Yes.
Yes.
And number 1, by a billion miles.
I was just going to say, 25 million was number 2.
And the other thing about these buyouts, a lot of those buyouts have a stipulation like if you go get a job and you're coaching next year, you don't get the full buyout.
Right, because they don't come in one check. Right.
But this one, you get all
So before we get to number 1, that's what made number 2 stand out. First, Auburn was getting rid of a good coach that took them to success, both as the offensive coordinator for Cam Newton, the brains of the operation, and not Gene Chizik. But then also, like, he was a good coach. He was a good coach at Auburn, and
one of the only ones who could mess with it, Saban, too.
Tom Herman was a good coach. Willie Taggart was a good coach.
But if they would have kept Malzahn,
they'd be in better shape
kind of through it. The foundation is way better. But then also, everybody made fun of that one because it was a lump sum. They had to pay that in lump sum, and I don't know if there was any kind of offset thing, right? So that's why they had to get
for that lump sum.
Let's go to the oil barons of number 1, please. Give us number 1.
So first, before I do this, have you guys seen the photo that's floating around? And I think I sent you the link. I can't believe it's legit.
That's not. I don't think that can be real.
Okay.
I think the photo is real, but I think someone changed the numbers on the novelty check.
So a bunch of wealthy oil guys gave a bunch of money to Texas A&M on November 11th, right? Is what the check says, for $100-something million. And they say that money abled this next stat here. Jimbo Fisher at number 1 with $76.9 million buyout.
Tremendous. It's tremendous.
Tremendous. What a great agent. What an amazing agent. Jimbo Fisher is going to have a job next year too. He's either at minimum, he's going to be on TV someplace getting paid a pretty nice amount because he's been on TV before.
Yeah, but he's not going to match $70 million.
No. That's the other thing. Like Anish says, why would you ever do anything again?
Why?
I have an answer for this. Listen,
ego.
You and the 3 of us aspire to be lazy. Okay. Right. People like him, it's not about the money at all. Once you have that kind of money, it isn't. When the people say it's not about the money, and the joke is it always is, once you have that kind of money, it really isn't anymore. It's now about being the center of the universe and having people treat you like a deity. Right? These guys get addicted to that. The power, the control, the adulation. We would all go live on a boat or in Montana or Wyoming in Boiler Dowd's case. But these guys don't want that. Why has Saban not walked away in his 70s? It's not like he's enjoying himself.
No.
It's because you can't. The thought of giving that up does not compute in your brain. So that's the answer to that. But
Saban, I heard a country music song today, and Jay, I think you're a bigger country fan than I am. But I heard a song today that has something about we all love Nick Saban, and it was just like I was like, no context at all. And my wife says, "Why would they say that?" I said, "Because he's a freaking god."
oh,
I mean, he's the greatest coach ever. His record says it, the champions say it, and now he's just creating space on that list.
But why not just quit before you're not? He could leave any one of these seasons with these like 12-win seasons and say, and then you look at it and you'll always look at that and see, wow, it ended and it never tailed off.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen? There's a chance, there's a non-zero chance he wins the national title this year.
Oh, I know.
After everything that
we're
we're
gonna go back.
Everybody
to
tried to retire
for the playoff at the beginning of the, and I'm gonna be right because I said Alabama, LSU, Ohio State. Did I say Michigan too? I have to look. But
Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia.
I'm gonna get it right.
But you don't have Florida
State
in yours. You don't have Florida State in yours.
No.
So here's a fun thing. We could be the last college football playoff could match the first college football playoff if it's Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State, and Oregon. And that's not that far off. Those are 4 of the 6 or 7 teams that can make it to the
I don't think we're going to get there at this point. A bunch of losing would have to happen ahead of them.
Well, they would just have to. Don't they have? Is there a Pac-12 title game?
Yeah. If they pound, if they win that big, because it'll be Washington that would play. So,
and I am. So far. Well, okay. Last week, Georgia finally showed it's the season has started. Let's go. And last week, Georgia was terrifying. That was the first time they looked terrifying. Right. I think Michigan is very, 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 very good. I don't think that they are the consensus kind of be scared of them best team in the country.
I still think Ohio State this year.
I think, which would be hilarious. I think Oregon is just wire to wire has been the most impressive team. I have been,
Washington?
Yeah. That game, by the way, was amazing, and that could have gone either way. I mean, both of them were. That's still the best game of the season, but both of them could have won that. I think, and in the other games, Oregon has looked way more impressive than Washington. I think.
I guess that's fair, but Washington, yeah. But I think Washington's going to get in if they keep winning. Obviously, if they win out. Yeah,
but Washington is like Anish is talking about. They've had a couple where they've
scares
their way to. Yeah.
I like this week when their player did that thing where they dropped the ball before the goal line, and as I saw pointed out by someone, or no, it was during the late night.
He was on the 2, by the way. He
was on the 2. This was usually it's a couple inches. This was on the 2-yard line.
Damn it!
That's, and you agreed with me. That's. If I'm as a fan, I don't even get that upset. Penalties, there's dumb penalties you get a little upset by, but stuff happens. When we've talked before about how the idea of turning your brain off of super aggressive play and then nope, just turn it off and nothing. That's people get mad at players because they make a mistake or they're too hyped up or they hit a guy a split second late. You're being an idiot because you've not played sports if you don't understand how hard that is to control. That bullshit when you drop a football when you're not in the end zone, and I still don't understand. Is this to look cool? I'm so cool. I'm dropping it early. I don't understand.
Yes,
I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
This game's easy. The game's easy.
Cross into the end zone and then do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
As Anish and I think you generally agree. Celebrations should be legal. Penalizing people for celebrating is the stupidest thing. Let people do whatever they want, but now they're dropping the football before they're in the end zone.
Yeah.
That literally could have cost them a playoff appearance. It literally could have.
Man.
Yeah. So, do we? But now we're getting questions. But there's one earlier that I'd like to go back to. But Boiler Max has one here. So before we lose this, let's just ask this one: what do you do with a 1-loss SEC champ Bama, 1-loss defending champ Georgia? I don't know where their loss is coming from.
Yeah.
And 1-loss Big 12 champ Texas.
In the SEC title game, probably for Georgia, right?
Yeah.
They would lose to Bama, right?
Right. Well, last year that exact thing happened, and they went in and they won.
And then Texas has beat. Texas has beat Bama, and assuming then they
Texas
grab
4 right now.
They are. No, I don't think so.
Washington's 4 right now. Washington's 4.
I think Texas is 7.
I think if that scenario happens, and Washington, you need other things to happen, I don't know how you're going to get a loss from Ohio State and Michigan. So in that scenario that you're banging out there, unless he's saying out of those who goes in, I don't because let's assume that the winner of Ohio State, Michigan goes. The winner of Washington, let's assume Washington wins. Washington goes. You've got 2 spots left for what is that? 3 teams.
This is assuming Florida State's out too. I mean, like that's the other team that is, I think, has got the clearest path, right?
Oh, they totally do. But if you have 2 slots left and you got those 3 teams Boilermaker is talking about, then I think the SEC teams go.
I agree. I don't because of the fact that ESPN still carries a pretty big stick.
That's what's happened before, though. Yep. It's literally so. Texas is good, and they've beaten a lot of teams, but they haven't played an SEC schedule, and that's what matters to these people. Right. So that's what would happen.
I'm telling you, it would be great if it was Bama, Georgia, Texas, and Florida State. I would be perfect. Except I don't want the Pac. I don't want Oregon or Washington to be screwed there. No. But so I would rather do them than Texas
winning a national title. Oh, it'd be so cool.
Oh yeah, I'd love Oregon. Awesome. Yeah.
There was a question earlier asking us way back. I don't know if you've been able to find it, Anish, asking if you would rather. Oh, are we going to do this one instead?
No, sorry. Here, keep going.
Oh, he said, would you rather Purdue lose to IU in football or get swept by them in basketball again? Which is a good question. A Sophie's Choice kind of question.
Right.
Do we get the Northwestern win? If we get the Northwestern win, I could palate it, and I'm not sure I could palate Bizak being swept in back-to-back years.
0-4 in his last 2 years against them. Yeah, you know what? I actually think, I think that's the answer. Yes. However, if Purdue basketball gets swept by IU, but IU doesn't go to the tournament, which looks possible. Okay, there's your Super Bowl, boys. Enjoy it.
To me,
they're not that.
I don't see this as possible. The reason IU, I hate to bring logic into this scenario.
No.
But the reason IU could beat Purdue last year was one man, and they don't have that guy this year. They don't have anything like that, right? They don't have a guy who's long, athletic,
that wasn't the
shot maker. I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at, and I just watched IU struggle versus Army. IU really wasn't doing this last year in November, if I remember correctly.
No, last year IU was impressed. They were good. They were good, and they were disappointing actually. Like towards the end, in terms of their non-Indiana games. Yeah, I know the non-Purdue games. Yeah. By the way, Trace Jackson Davis is instantly contributing to the Golden State Warriors. Another kind of IU star that goes underutilized. Well, who knew? Who could have guessed?
Wild. Yeah.
Hey man, this guy's the coach though. This is the guy. We've never said this before. This is the guy. He's going to take us there.
Finally got our guy. You see, they paid homage to a deceased member of the college basketball coaching world by everybody wearing red sweaters tonight.
Oh,
you saw that?
Were they also verbally abusive to everybody?
Yep,
every
coach strangled a player or headbutted. They had the choice. Cool. They could do either.
Ostracized everybody around them.
Yep.
And showed only kind of poison to most people, but then sprinkled just enough good things so that they talked about that person good. Oh yeah, graduation. Yeah. Good. Yeah, here's a
complex issue in nation. Complex.
Oh, it is complex. That's right. It's very complex. Boilermaker here says, if I told you Purdue gets 3 4-star players in the transfer portal football, I assume, in the transfer portal this offseason, what positions would you like to see them go? Basketball, it'd be hilarious if it was centers.
I would take 3 4-star centers. That'd be great. Yeah. Wow. 3 4 in the transfer this offseason.
I want both guards and I want 1 wide receiver. Yep.
That's a good answer. I was going to say all on the line.
I'd say wide receiver. I want a guard or a tackle left side.
Left tackle's a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, without disparaging anybody that's been playing this year or whatever, but it's left tackle.
And I would love to see a beastly linebacker. I know that's kind of an off the path answer, but I want a guy who is just a mother, a guy who's what Bone Crusher, what's his name? Kyle Bone Crusher, what's his nuts? Years ago was supposed to be.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Kyle Bone Crusher, what's his nuts?
Yes.
Well, you must feel. I mean, I was thinking we should be excited about Walter's first year of recruiting, right? I mean, because last year he did recruiting, but it was he got a later start because he right.
I'm waiting for everything to be inked, just like basketball, which I suppose now we can talk about. But yeah.
But him going
Okay. Listen.
Ooh.
Okay, listen. You guys know I don't get all.
So are
crazy.
we hanging 3 or 4 banners preemptively?
It's probably 4. It's going to be 4. Okay. Listen, I tried to hold back my enthusiasm about catchings as long as I could, and I didn't talk about it publicly.
And so let's actually put a quick disclaimer here.
Okay.
Is that he is still an OTE, so he cannot play for another college, which is great. Yes. But he could stay at OTE, and he could do that for his first year out of high school and then do that. It's unlikely, but again, it's just
third best scorer in the OTE, right? He's like top 15 in rebounds, and he's got an okay amount of assists. Not that I've gone and checked on this and like really dug into this. Okay?
Sicko mode.
Yeah, it's awful. I am so stoked about catchings coming. I can't think of another single recruit that I've been this excited about.
Do you think he's a one and done guy?
He's got the potential to be. Yes. He's got the potential. It's more likely to, but he's got the potential to be one. Yeah.
The only thing that might keep him back is that he could put on a pound or two. But
he's a skinny. He's a skinny kid.
Yeah, skinny. But he likes to embarrass people, which I love.
Right? So he's a little bit like Boogie, you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for.
He's actually kind of nastier. Like he's a little bit nasty.
Yeah, and he likes to tell people they suck after he does it, which is awesome. He also is a son of an ex-pro, right? He is the nephew of an ex-pro. He is he's got like pro athletes all over his family. So he is built for this stuff, right? And he was a 5-star. He'd still be a 5-star if he would have stayed at a high school. I'm convinced of that. Like I was trying to get Anish because Anish knows recruiting better than me, but I was trying to pinpoint when did he get knocked down that few points that kept him.
He was always, so I think on 24/7 he was always like right at that 19, 20, 21 line, and they only, like as a rule, they only have 19 or 25 stars. Right. I think 2 people jumped him rather than his score actually went down, but that's fine. It would have been nice.
It doesn't matter, right? You know that. Like nice. My opinion, that's the thing. It didn't fall, and I know no mag was giving him the official 5-star, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't care. The last 5-star we saw was awesome, but it was a late ad, right? So we didn't have this time to like really marinate on it and think about it way too much and worry about it last summer and like all the stuff that happens with a big time recruit, right? I am so stoked to see this kid in black and gold.
I mean,
and I am so Miles, stoked to see the changed lineup, guys.
I mean, him with Miles
Holy
Colvin.
Crap.
I mean, him, Miles Colvin, Cam Heidi. That is the most athletic wing pairing that Purdue will see. I mean, or Purdue has.
So what I called, like I said that to my son. I said that Catchings he's a wing, okay, but he's a meaner wing than Hummel was as a freshman, okay. But right out of the box, we're going to see production. I think that's a starter right away, which that'd be a pretty big statement if Paint starts him, which Paint doesn't do that really, freshman, right?
Etuan Moore, and then Braden
Moore,
Smith,
lawyer, right?
Yep. Okay. And Peach, I think was one of them. Like
wild but true, right?
Yeah.
But if you put him there, so I called him Robbie Hummel heavy. Okay. And I know it's a weird thing to compare a black guy to a white guy. I know that the media doesn't like to do that, but I'm like, you got a wing who's scoring minded, who can do everything, who's super long, who right away is a winner. Okay. And then on the other side, you got Benter, who really is kind of like just Robbie Hummel. So you've got a class that's loaded with scorers, loaded with shooters, loaded with length. Like this is the thing, our buddy Michael Henry, who does still exist, by the way, to the listeners out there. He does still exist. This class has to make him just go nutty because he always wanted NBA length at Purdue, right? Am I wrong or am I like 6'7" to 6'9" NBA length that can shoot? These guys are all that way.
I mean, and now you'll have a year of Colvin. You'll have Lawyer and Smith in their junior years, which is going to be awesome. I mean, kind of
Edie
leading
coming
that,
back
and then
for his fifth year.
I know, his sixth, seventh year. I
He
mean, you
could.
still.
It's so stupid. He won't, but he could.
You've still got, regardless
30-man
of,
roster.
regardless of transfers, you're still going to have among the better front courts in the country. I mean, like, first TKR, Berg is still going to be there, right? I mean, it's going to be
and the kid from is he Illinois officially? I don't know. He's moved around a little bit, but the guy that Wisconsin wanted. That's another 7'3" guy.
Riley.
Burgess.
No, Burgess is the kind of other
Burgess
forward.
like 6'11", right?
But then there's then there's the big 7'3" monster, and then Purdue might get another legacy, scoring guard.
Let's be real honest. I'm just already calling this one. I mean, like, I don't know how you can't, but they're going to give another just. CJ Cox, by the way, let's sleep on CJ Cox. That is a Purdue player. Okay. That's a guy who comes in pissed off because nobody offered him and he's already got a chip on his shoulder. And then let's bring in Big Dog's kid, who I'm told also likes to embarrass people. Oh, shit. Gosh, man.
I mean, and so the risk there with Jakari Harris is Georgia Tech, right? Who is not traditionally a risk, but is coached by Damon Stoudemire, and that's kind of cool. And that's different, and it's home, and he's from Atlanta, and so it gives him a platform there. He's not going to have to compete for minutes and things like that. I do think that's a non-zero risk, but considering also how he could very easily argue like, hey, look at that Purdue class. You're not getting playing time in 2 years. Like your first 2 years, you're not getting playing time, which I don't think is true, but it's going to be tough, but we'll see.
Somebody asked, is CJ Cox Carson Light? No, he's not. CJ Cox is Chris Kramer heavy. Like I love this. I love what my brain is doing. All these stupid connections of guys.
I like that.
Man.
It's like they've all been very different, but the senior transfer guards that Painter gravitates towards, CJ Cox is very much in the mold. Like from what I've seen and from what hearing Painter talk about him, he's very much in the mold of those guys. So we'll see.
Ed Albanese has a question about big dongs.
A big what?
Well, it says, will Big Dong's kid come to Purdue?
Is there another player? Is this before my time?
I'm assuming he means Big Dog.
Is this Matt Tendom? Was he Big Dog?
Joe Hensley asks, what about the game Friday night? How great of a fit is Lance? I love Lance Jones. I already love him.
Yeah, I think you like put all your chips in for Lance.
Oh, he's nasty, man. That's the nasty.
He's not even nasty. He's just got a little bit of an edge. Just a little, like, don't push my guy. I love that. I love it. Yeah. He takes shots. He's not afraid to take big shots. He took a
30-footer during that game. He reminded me of me in the co-rec. Whee! I was like, oh, Painter doesn't like that one, but he's doing it anyway. Love it.
Carl, a little while ago, he said, so I'm not quite sure what he's saying here. So we're writing off this season now? Is he saying because you guys are excited about it?
Because I'm excited about No.
You build.
We can do both things.
Yeah. No one's writing off any seasons.
No. I'm not doing that. I'm excited for a deeper future. This goes right into the things. If you've been listening to the things that we've been talking about, right? Was it the CBS team that said they keep taking these swings and they're gonna crack this thing, right? They're gonna break through. This is another example. You're like, holy moly, they loaded the chamber, right? Anish, can you articulate what Purdue just did? Because you're really good with that analogy of loading the chamber.
The button in the canister, the can and the
empty the chamber, empty the
pot. Yeah.
You nailed it. You did it again.
I still wish I had that recording. That was so great. Anish was stammering in a voice chat, trying to use a gun term, and it was so apparent.
So good. It was so good.
It's one of those things where your
years
mind just
ago,
shuts
and
off.
we still make fun of him for it.
Your mind
awesome.
shuts off halfway through the sentence, and like the rest of your body tries to overcome.
And you're doing it over a voice thing, and everyone's gonna give you a hard time. You're like, oh, I can't reel this one in. There's no way. I just keep talking. Yeah. Cobra says, true story. Parking for the Moorhead game the other day, I saw who from the side I thought was Boiler Dad, rolled down the window, yelled Boiler Dad. Dude just stared. It wasn't Boiler Dad.
That's awesome. I love it. Thanks for trying. Thank you, Cobra.
Yeah. I want to see this guy though.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you love it if it was like he was like really fat and like
just a cobra, like a snake, just a snake?
No,
the guy he thought was Boiler Dad.
Oh,
he's fat.
He's like 7 feet tall.
I want to see the guy he mistaked for Boiler Dad. He's like 65
I always want
years
to see
old.
that. Yeah. And then I get my feelings hurt.
Dude.
Yeah, thanks. You've just hurt me. You made me angry. Hold on one second.
But the kind of off season or the non-conference season gets real against finally facing kind of a real opponent. Again, Xavier is like maybe a tournament bubble team this year, but
and it's at Mackey, so it's a step up from what they've been playing. But I still think.
Yeah, but I'd like to. It's real competition.
Better measuring stick. Like, yes, of course.
Sean Miller is always going to be coaching a tough team, right?
Yes.
Like they're always going to be in this. So I like to see that. I want to see more Zach. I mean, like we haven't. It's been light on Zach this year, and the teams have been really heavy on kind of taking him away.
I love seeing him win without lots of doses of Zach because you're going to need him later, and this is a long season, and I can't help but feel like Purdue wears down. I hate to say that, but I feel like is it this is a question I'd love to ask Painter because he'd have a thoughtful answer, but I don't know how much of when a team hits the wall and Purdue did, no matter what anybody wants to say, down the stretch, like the final games, we talked about this. They didn't play well in the Big Ten tournament, right? They didn't play well for the final month of the season. They were still winning games, but they did not look like the team that they had looked like. And they weren't full of injuries. So is it physical? Is it a mental tired exhaustion of playing so much basketball over 5 months or whatever it is?
We were all mentally exhausted. Do you remember how down the stretch we're like, let's just move forward. This is horrible.
Yeah. So how you know how you feel.
Players feel. Yeah.
How do they not get it? Now I do think it's different when you're in the games because you have more control over it. And once you start the game, you're just playing basketball. You're not sitting there anxious. Yeah. Until the tournament, but I think that is there an element of mental fatigue, or is it just because I'm getting back to what I was saying is I'd love to play Zach less, play Zach a lot less. That'd be fine. Yeah. I don't mind if he gets.
Boy, TK has got to start hitting his free throws, man, at a higher clip. I mean, like that's the thing. I think if Painter's going to be annoyed by anything, especially down the stretch, I think Anish talked about this, pointed this out weeks ago, where he said, "Man, if he's not hitting his free throws, Payne's not going to trust him at all." At the end of the game,
right?
So that's a big deal. I mean, but it's awesome. You look at his minutes. Zach's minutes are low.
By the way, John Younger says he saw you at AJ's and did not want to disrupt your meal. That was very thoughtful. But I've seen him eat too, John. I wouldn't.
No, you lose a hand.
Yeah.
Get built like this by not eating a lot. So we had a wonderful meal with our friend at AJ's.
And where were you? You were at AJ's? Is that your place to go on campus when you're hungry?
That's my favorite. Yeah, if I'm on campus, I always go to AJ's on Vine. Burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. But we had pretzel bites. We had mac and cheese bites. I had the Chicago beef dipped. My son had a burger with the gyro meat. My nephew had another burger. My brother couldn't finish his burger. He had double with egg on it. The breakfast burger.
Yes, I've had the breakfast burger.
My brother.
A grown man says, "I couldn't finish my burger.
This is too much food for me."
Yes, I'm just a little guy.
I accidentally ordered the double at AJ's. So that's no joke, brother.
And I remember you were like, "Yeah, do a double." I was like, "Does he know what he just did?"
Why? because I think they are they're are they half-pound burgers?
Yeah, and I thought, or no, are they half
They're
pound?
bigger
No,
than
they're
quarter
not.
pound.
But
They
yeah,
are
they might be third.
Third.
They might be third, boys. That's the what's in between. Yes.
No,
The
I'm pretty sure a third is smaller than a quarter.
I thought
Quarter's bigger.
in my head, I thought it was a smash burger, and I should have known because AJ's has burgers, beef, and beer. So I should have known.
No,
But
it's not a smash
you know,
Mm.
My brother actually made that comment. He goes, "This is not." He's holding it like this. This is not a smash burger. I'm like, man, he cut it in half to try to lessen the blow. Then he cut it into a quarter, and he's like, I can see over there, he's sweating. Oh,
Oh my
Too
god!
the
much.
meat sweats,
Yeah,
the
he's
AJ's
fine.
meat sweats.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. I don't want to talk about the pretzels anymore. I just keep talking about them. They're so amazing. Gosh,
Enough about the pretzels.
enough about the pretzels already.
We already talked about one sponsor. The other one, I'm wearing
Me too.
I'm wearing pants for a change, and I'm wearing pants from Home Field Apparel.
I'm not wearing home field pants.
Home Field joggers, man. I cannot. They're just sweatpants, as you like to point out to me. But they're so good.
You've given up, as George Costanza said.
No, not these days. Sweatpants are not a
I
sign of
know.
giving up
People
anymore.
wear them at work now.
Exactly. He said with disdain.
Unreal. Exactly. There's some bridges I won't cross. I won't go that far. I'm not going to wear sweatpants.
No, I
Look
wouldn't wear
close.
them.
Boiler Dad is on a work Zoom in a full 3-piece suit.
Really.
Bye-bye, Anish.
Whoa.
There he is.
There he is. He gone. Yeah. So people have asked us, do we have any thoughts on the Xavier game since we've looked further
Bye-bye,
ahead?
Anish.
He's not again. Do we have any thoughts about the Xavier game?
Why is it making me laugh?
No, it's great.
It's like a curtain coming.
Right.
Yes.
So
What are your
how do you
thoughts?
guys feel about the Xavier game?
Well, we were just saying when you went off mic for a minute that it's nice to have it's a better measuring stick,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the nice thing. But they're not. It's still in Mackey, and Purdue still definitely have more talented teams. So this should still be a Purdue win, and I think it should be a comfortable win. I'm not trying to be cocky. I think it's November, number one, and oh boy, we're distracted now.
I'm just answering questions.
Yeah, whatever whatever they ask the monkey to do, he'll do it.
So yeah, you know that.
Why don't you answer the Xavier question so you focus?
Well, that's weird. So, to me, this early in the season, like we know what Purdue was last year. We know what they were in November and December. Purdue looks different right now than they did last November and December. Let's be real honest, right?
They do.
And I'll tell you why they look different to me. Number one is First hasn't really hit his stride at all, and he was playing really well early last year, right?
Right.
On top of that, Purdue's got this new gear that I don't know if we saw at all last year. I know they played with some pace. I said that versus Duke, they played with a lot of pace, but they've got a higher gear. When they're playing really fast, they're kind of scary good, but they don't play it consistently. So I'm not real sure.
It's early though.
It's early. The team, I'm not sure the team is gelled. I do think though, when brighter lights come on this team, they're going to set their jaw, and you're going to see a different thing. Of course, with Zach Edey.
We're starting to see. We kind of all felt like we were seeing a little bit of like, is this team a little bit pissed off? Is that what it is, right? And maybe that's, good teams or great teams. Like when they get embarrassed, they sometimes react that way, and the resolve is different. And maybe that's what it is. I think it's early to be. I'm hopeful. I think it's early to be saying that. It's 2 games, 2 regular season games, right?
Can you stay mad for 5 months? Well, you could ask me. I've been mad for 48 years about everything.
You can stay mad for 5 months.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Because they're going to get reminded about this. Oh, it's only just beginning. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, it'll get more. The scrutiny will get worse, and
the more it's going to come up, the closer you get to March. So.
Yep.
And I think they got the right guy leading them to be like prepared to say, hey, get used to that, guys. Wear it, as the expression goes, right? You guys.
Painter said, "Sit in it."
Sit in it.
Always makes me think of a baby sitting in a shitty diaper.
It's just a perfect analogy.
It is. I'm sitting in a no-no right now. Sorry, it's too much. You guys don't have to deal with the smell, so.
as we are.
I don't know why I said no, but I loved it. I've never said that in my life, I don't think.
Oh man. All right. Well, we're officially off the rails.
Yeah, focus. Always good.
No, yeah. It's 93 minutes in. I don't know.
Yeah,
how much more is there?
Yeah. Do appreciate everybody sticking around. It's a longer show, but it's been a good show. I think if you like what we are, the Handsome Hour, I think there was a lot of it in this show. And you saw some things that were a little out of character, which are pretty fun. And I think we could dig in. I don't know, Jay, if you've taken as much time. Anish he's really a recruiting guy.
Yeah,
he
sure.
Loves recruiting. You don't talk about it. You've backed way
at all.
But I always say when they sign, now I'm in.
Of course.
And I have been reading and listening and watching. I'm like, oh gosh. But I wanted to talk about catchings for months, and I was like, not doing it until he signed.
The fun part of this is that catchings with that class enables, and then with a experienced backcourt to welcome him, with another athletic, like two other experienced athletic wings, that can kind of ease the burden off of him. With a really stacked front court. I mean, like, it is surrounding him in kind of if he wants to showcase as a one and done, this is a perfect showcase spot for him, right? It's going to look different than Purdue has ever looked. I mean, it's going to be strange and weird, and that's going to be awesome because that'll be the first post-Zach year, so, man, that'll be fun.
How about this question? That may be way too early to ask this question. I believe both Gillis and Morton could play another year of college basketball.
So I was actually wondering about that. I think so.
I was too the other night. What are the I don't even want to ask that. I'm not going to do it.
You can't. You got it now.
What I was going to say, what are the odds of either of them playing at another school next year?
I think decent.
I think maybe one of them, the dangerous one for me is Ethan Morton at Notre Dame. Like, it just kind of fits with Micah, right? But I know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
How about if he's going to do that, go to Pitt, man.
I mean, like, he can come to Pitt, but we're not having.
I'll be honest too. I don't want Gillis to ever be any place out there and have to go against that guy. He intimidates me in black and gold. So
yeah, I like him. I like them both. I would like them to go out with a championship. That would be nice.
That'd be nice. Yeah. Yep. That's Cobra has the best idea. Gillis can take a year and
a Patrick Beatty year.
Patrick Beatty.
What a strange year. That was so weird.
Patrick Beatty though had the background. Maybe Gillis will take a year and play for Purdue's baseball team in a twist. Old baseball player. So, but I had one more thing, and I can't remember what it was, but I think I'm probably just going to let it die. Dag nabbit. Oh, I know what it was. I wanted to explain one more thing to everybody.
Give me crack corn.
Yeah, I get made fun of for that one a lot.
It's a bad one, man. You gotta.
Sorry, I'm not getting rid of it. It's not going anywhere. We had an idea, and you can sound off about this. Would you have liked this? We had an idea to have a Handsome Hour at 7:30 to go an actual hour.
You crowdsourcing this?
Yeah, I just want to hear what people thought about this.
Putting up the flagpole.
This would be fun. Maybe we'll do this at some point this season. A Handsome Hour pregame, which would have football leading nicely into basketball, just like tonight, very organized. We'd go through our show notes.
7:30, which means we'd start at 7:51.
7:50, and we'd get done at halftime of the basketball game.
Right.
And then after, I would do a post game, just like normal. But that would be like a block of content, like
I really would.
Unprecedented Boiled Sports content.
And what if we also called the game? I think that would be.
Now there you go. Now we're talking. That's a lot of work. I don't.
Someone's going to need to cut the check.
Exactly. I don't think it's going to happen. Again, this is back to money with Anish. What's your buyout? What's your cost being on duty for 3 hours? So
that's it. I'd want to be reincarnated as a slightly above average football coach. This is what I want. Like I want to be good enough to get a good salary and not quite good enough to live up to expectations.
Jimbo Fisher get a call from Michigan State.
No, Jimbo Fisher does not. No.
Will Kyle Whittingham get a call from Texas A&M?
If they were smart, if any,
Yes.
I mean, I've been
Shit,
saying
yes.
this for I've been saying this for years that Kyle Whittingham is
He's
one of the 5 best coaches in the country.
If we're really going to do this, I saw a great. You know how every time this happens, somebody comes out with a list, and it's like every coaching name ever, right? Like guys who are available for jobs, guys who aren't, guys who've said they're never going to get. You know, Bob Stoops should like
Right.
what? There was one I saw, and it had a handful of the popular names right now, like DeBoer and Dan Lanning,
Herbs?
and like, huh?
Herbs?
No, Herbs wasn't on it. And then one of the names that was on it though was Cliff Kingsbury. Why would even A&M's not that dumb?
No,
right?
They're
like
not.
they're dumb.
They can't be that dumb.
That's not even. It's not even a flashy enough. Like that's not exciting, right? Like they wouldn't hire.
They're gonna do that. Why not just say Manziel gonna be at the
right?
The most fun A&M name that I've heard is Dan Campbell, who apparently is an A&M alum, but like the Lions head coach. And it's like, first of all, you're not leaving a
But I love that because that's perfect. That's perfect.
Delusion, right?
Delusion. It's awesome. Like, yes, the guy who's turning around the Lions would come
right, doing something that no one has been able to do.
It's IU fans with help me, Anish, GM of Boston.
Stevens.
Yes, yeah. It's that level of. Well, of course he would come here. No, he was never going to come there.
Yes,
and yeah, Les Miles, Joe Inslee says.
Miles.
Well, these names. Like the names that you're going to see are going to be so great. This is going to be so fun. And as you said,
this is the other part of why I love the coaching carousel. But go ahead.
Well, just what I said to you all, and I think you credited me on the little quickie hit you did on the X today, which you can't comment on unless you're a paying subscriber, by the way, which is why nobody uses that anymore. I think that like Spaces or whatever it was called. But if I'm getting an offer there, I'm saying, well. What are you paying me? Because you gave the last guy $75 million to leave. So what's my contract going to be worth? 100 plus, right?
Yeah.
Has to be. 10 years, 100 plus million.
And that's why I think they are only going after a coach with serious championship pedigree. Like,
well, sure,
because they know that's what the cost is going to be. You've all but wrecked a guy, right? But you gave him a ton of money to walk, so you're going into the $100 million zone.
Meaning
crazy money.
Meaning you're approaching 200 million for 2 coaches.
Goodness.
I mean,
it doesn't make any sense.
Somebody
asked early, did Charlie Weiss get paid walking money by Notre Dame? Yes, he did. And he got paid. His was a long term. He was going to get paid regardless if he got another job. So he was getting paid a ton of money by Notre Dame. And then he got his Kansas contract where he got walking money from Kansas. That dude, man, he cleaned up.
He knew how to do it. He's my hero.
Yes, he did.
And was never a good head coach anywhere.
Never. Right. By the way, I saw today during the Colts game, we've talked about Bill O'Brien being the strongest limb of the Belichick coaching tree. And they were talking about how brilliant of a game Bill O'Brien had called for the Patriots. And I was like, they're in the single digits right now. They can't move the effing ball. How can you say this is brilliant?
When you've decided on your narrative, you just stick with it.
I guess this is the deal.
Jason Garrett, color man for NBC, the most
genius
color man, the least colorful color man ever.
Yeah, the most vanilla color person ever. He's awful.
He said during the game at one point, I don't know if you guys, well, you didn't hear it, you were in the stadium, lucky you. But he said something about Hudson Card not having played a lot of football. So
oh my gosh.
He has to, he was basically saying he has to be patient with his reads. He's not played a lot of football. It's like, even if your point is that he hasn't played a lot of college football, which I don't think you can really say he's with second full season of playing college football, at least, right? Like he's played football his whole life. Like, what are you even talking about?
He played a lot at Texas.
Yeah, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a stupid comment.
It was so stupid. Like, just
Matt Millen and Jason Garrett add
Millen
nothing.
might be the worst. Millen really might be the worst. I'd listen to Garrett over
how he still has a job. He's been doing it for a long time. That's the difference between those two, right? Is that
Garrett's only in like year 2 or something.
Yeah. He may get better. Maybe
he might. Not. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
They thought that about him as a Dallas Cowboys head coach too, and he didn't get any better.
It didn't work. Well, guys, thanks for Thanks for staying up with us as we're still tuned in live. Thanks to Jay Money and Anish both. Anish fighting the good fight against technological demons and doing his thing. And
He's a tough time with technology.
But he kills it. He's getting old though, Jay. It happens to all of us.
I know.
Yeah. But we do appreciate you tuning in. We do, if you're listening on today, on delay, we appreciate that. We'll have some thoughts for you after the Xavier game, win or lose, and tune in next week. We'll be back to our normal time, I believe, 9 p.m. on Monday. Until then, yep. I love you guys. Good night.